is up, Hot Wheels racing fans? You're watching the NASCAR Nitro Series on the HSL Diecast Racing Channel. And after an explosive Nitro B Series race, the fireworks continue with the Freebird 500 at Bristol Motor Speedway. And we turn this into a crown jewel event, 60 cars, 5 laps per segment. And judging by the B Series race results, there's going to be a lot of laps with razor-thin finish margins and a whole ton of angry drivers. This is going to be awesome. I can't wait to get this started. The whole track is lined with red, white, and blue cars, including some of the B Series mainstays, but all eyes are going to be on your pole sitter, Amber Beach, trying to make it 3 out of 4 races this year so far. Segment pole sitters also include Lucas Sattler Jr. and Misty G, looking for their first career wins. They're both pretty high in the point standings as well. Skeeter Davis coming off of his first podium of the season. Last week's winner, Thomas Elliott, and Deuce Andretti, who has 2 top 10s so far out of the first 3 races, still looking for that first top 5. Rounding out the rest of the front row is Bishop Petty Jr., Gale Force, RJ McCready, Bobby Allison, Killa Kowalski, and Remy 12 Gauge trying to turn his season around. And some other drivers to look out for include Crazy Ruby and Cowell Petty in that first segment, as well as Gator McCluskey starting right behind his teammate and your defending champion, Burt Buzzard, also starting behind the leader in his segment. And now let's kick things off with segment number 1. On the front row, your points leader, Amber Beach, who has taken 2 out of the first 3 races so far, followed by Crazy Ruby and Flip Gambino, Cowell Petty and Po' Boy in row number 3, Jim Douglas and the legendary Lovebug, Thunderbolt Joe, Elias, and Johnson Jr. round out your segment. The gates are down for lap number 1, and trouble for Po' Boy and Cowell Petty from the start. The first 4 cars break away from the pack. Amber Beach just barely edges out her teammate. And look at this, Po' Boy and Thunderbolt Joe dump Cowell Petty off the track. A violent hit from the top of the high bank, and Cowell Petty is lucky to land on his wheels. Everybody else is on their wheels. No DNFs for the first lap despite that violent hit. Lap number 2 is still going to be Amber Beach and Bishop Petty Jr. on the front row. Flip Gambino took a spot from Crazy Ruby for 3rd. The gates are down for lap number 2. Jim Douglas gets beached on the guardrail and traps everyone behind him and cautions out for the first El Reco of the day. And it starts when Crazy Ruby takes the lead, as you see here in the replay, after Crazy Ruby and Flip Gambino dumps his own teammate. Meanwhile, Thunderbolt Joe flips in the turn well ahead of the start-finish line, and Cowell Petty just flips on his side just a few inches short of the finish line. And a double DNF for lap number 2. They're headed off to the HSL junkyard. Terrible points day for the both of them. And now it's time for lap number 3 of segment 1 with 8 cars left. Bishop Petty Jr. and Crazy Ruby running away with this. Bishop Petty throws a block on Crazy Ruby, holds her off, and cautions out again. This time it's Jim Douglas and the legendary Lovebug. And once again, he's had too much Baileys and Jameson in his coffee again. That's the 3rd DNF in 3 starts for Jim Douglas, as they're headed off to the HSL junkyard. And that is a reference to the movie where the villain driver dumps some Irish coffee into his radiator to try and make his engine blow up, and it kind of succeeds. They'd have a very poor finish in that race. Now that brings us to lap number 4. Bishop Petty Jr. flying away with this segment. Po' Boy fighting for 2nd place, but he flips on his roof now. Po' Boy on his roof and out of the race. Another DNF for another driver fighting to save his season, and that's Amber Beach on her side. An El Reco for Amber Beach on lap 4 of her segment. She has been flawless all season. Her first career DNF, first ever trip to the HSL junkyard. Depending on what Misty G does in her segment, Amber Beach could lose the points lead here. What a dramatic turn of events. We got to see this happen once again. There's Amber Beach. Just bins it in the middle of the turn. Just a terrible unforced error on the bottom end of the track. I don't know how that even happened, but now we're on to the final lap. It's going to be a bad points day for the both of them, and now the gates are down for the final lap. Does anybody have anything for Bishop Petty Jr.? His teammate right on his back bumper. Flip Gambino trying to make a move, pushes Bishop Petty across the line. Bishop Petty to the main event, and Flip Gambino to the seconds race. And he really needed that, as he had quite a bit of bad luck since his top 10 at Daytona. And now it's time for segment number 2. On the front row is his LCDRL satellite teammate, Lucas Sattler Jr., followed by Gale Force. Behind them, Coffee Tart and Gaza. In row number 3 is Baby Richie and Rowan, followed by Johnny What the Hell is a Kilometer Benson. Named that for the giant red, white, and blue eagle on his car in Lord Shanks series. Nomio, one of the top B-Series drivers, JJ Smooth making his debut, and Tails, who lands on tails coming out of the start gate. I don't even know how the heck that happened. As you'll see on the replay, once this lap's over, we got another double DNF on the track, triple DNF altogether. Coffee Tart and JJ Smooth both bin it in the turn, and it's going to be a terrible points day for the both of them, but you see where the gate is still down when Tails flips there. I don't know how the heck he did that on the straightaway. Either way, it's a triple DNF. Coffee Tart can't be happy about that. She's pretty high in the point standings. Will probably receive single-digit points or close to it, depending on how many other first-lap DNFs there are. And now it's time for lap number 2. The gates are down. It's going to be Gale Force running away from the rest of the field. Throws a double block on Lucas Sattler and her teammate Gaza. Made her car 2 lanes wide, didn't lose any speed, just like Jean Girard. I have to give the Frenchmen credit. They did help us win the Revolutionary War after all. Now the gate's down for lap 3. Once again, Johnny Benson with some rear differential issues. And that time, Gale Force just flies away from the rest of the track. There's not much space to open up a big lead on this track, but Gale Force still does it, leads that by 2.5 car lanes. And after that first lap, El Reco, it's been clean racing. A dominant drive by Gale Force. Her teammate, Gaza, goes flipping in the air. Gaza's on his roof and out of the race. I spoke too soon. They violently collide heading into the turns. Gaza fighting too hard for the lead on lap number 4. That's an El Reco. He's headed off to the HSL junkyard. His nightmare of a season with only 1 top 10 in the first 4 races, despite showing a lot of speed. Continues. As you can see in the replay here, the track stays intact, but Gaza gets beached on the guardrail, tries to stop himself from falling over the ledge, ends up going vertical the wrong way. Terrible day for him. Riot Isaac almost has a disaster there, but he manages to save it. He'll be starting the final lap right behind the leader, trying to take second place away from Lucas Sattler Jr., who has shown a ton of speed, and the gates are down. Gale Force once again with a car lane lead over the rest of the field. Lucas tries to make a move for the lead. Gale Force throws a block. Riot Isaac caught in the crossfire. He ends up off the track, but still on his wheels. He'll be going to the 6th race. It's going to be Gale Force to the main event and Lucas Sattler Jr. to the 2nd race. And now with 2 action-packed segments in the books, let's kick off segment number 3. On the front row, Misty G, currently 2nd in the point standings. Next to her is RJ McCready. Behind them is Jimbo Rockford and Baby Richie, followed by Harry Hoon and Richard Petty in the 3rd row, the Uncle Elvis teammates of Sawyer and Ratha, and finally J-Bo and Nomio. The gates are down for lap number 1. And to nobody's surprise, Misty G runs away with it by 3+ car lanes. Almost a whole track segment. Cautions out for another El Reco. This time it's Jimbo Rockford as we check on Racer Gnome, who is on his wheels. But Jimbo Rockford clearly was not. He's headed off to the HSL junkyard, as his season's quickly becoming one to forget. As he had qualified for this race from the outside lane already, he should drop even further in the points. And now it's time for lap number 2 of this segment. Misty G holding on to the lead. The gates are down. Her teammate Riot Isaac right behind her, but she doesn't even need him to push. She throws a block holding off both him and RJ McCready as a bunch of cars start flying off the track. We got at least one on the roof. Let's check the 2 drivers in the outfield. That's Ratha and Harry Hoon. Both of them are on their wheels, but Racer Gnome is not so lucky. On his roof and out of the race in the infield. That'll earn him a one-way ticket to the HSL junkyard. Bad points day for him. And yes, that is Racer Gnome. I checked to make sure I didn't accidentally disqualify Sawyer there instead. And now the gates are down for lap number 3. And look at this, RJ McCready side by side with Misty G heading into the turns. Expert reverse side draft holds him off. And we got another El Reco. This time it's J-Bo on his roof in the middle of the turn. As we check the rest of the track, make sure there's no other DNFs. J-Bo headed off to the HSL junkyard. Bad luck for him. He was battling for 4th after a bad starting spot. And on that lap, we had a photo finish for 3rd. Looks like Baby Richie just barely edges out Richard Petty by the length of his front bumper. And with 2 laps to go, 7 cars remaining, Misty G has an ironclad grip on this segment. The gates are down for the 4th lap. And once again, she's a full car length ahead of her teammate Baby Richie, who's now challenging RJ McCready for 2nd. You look at that somersault. Richard Petty flips his lid, manages to recover, holds on to 4th place as the track repair crew repaves that section of track for the final lap of this segment. Ratha and Sawyer got caught up in it. jarred loose by Harry Hoon, who suffers some kind of mechanical malfunction. As Misty G holds a narrow lead over RJ McCready, they're battling for second behind her, and it's going to be Misty G. In a clean lap, she takes the segment. Baby Richie, her teammate, takes second away from RJ McCready at the last second. That brings us to segment number 4. On the front row is Skeeter Davis, your all-time wins leader at 4. Next to him, Bobby Allison. Behind them, Skeeter's teammate, Gator McCluskey. Those two bump drafting should be pretty hard to beat. But stacked up behind Bobby Allison are two of his teammates himself, Kyle Petty and Ted Musgrave. And rounding out the segment in the truck is Gail for In-Laws Racing. Behind her is Kid Zach for Mark Russell and her satellite team owner, Puff. And in the back row are two B-Series mainstays making their very first main series start, Slick Fitty and Twinkie Jake. The gates are down. It's a clean first lap, no DNFs, no wrecking or aggressive driving. As expected, Gator McCluskey shoots up to second place and disrupts the teammate trains of the first lap. Meanwhile, Ted Musgrave lost a spot or two as well. And now the gates are down for lap number 2. Look at this, Skeeter Davis with a car length lead. The field rubber bands behind him in the turn, but Skeeter Davis is just too fast and cautions out for an El Reco. We've got a double DNF, or not, that's just Ted Musgrave, and the car he hit was a spectator's car. Well, technically one of our drivers, Oluka Yode Osisanya, but as all the red, white, and blue cars that DNQ'd are part of the red, white, and blue 4th of July display. As I filmed this the day after the 4th of July, and I wanted to get this video out a lot sooner, but either way, here is lap number 3. Once again, Skeeter Davis absolutely dominant out the start gate. Meanwhile, Bobby Allison challenging for second gets side drafted by Gator McCluskey. Does anybody have anything for these po' boy teammates? Bobby Allison now on his roof. An absolutely devastating lap for him, from challenging for second place all the way to getting tossed off the track and on his roof. And we've got a double DNF. Puff flips his lid as well, as they're both taken off to the HSL junkyard. Two of the strongest drivers in the series history who are still looking for that first career win, and both of them will have to wait at least another race. Terrible points day for the both of them. And now it's time for lap number 4 of segment number 4. Does anybody have anything for the po' boy teammates, Gator McCluskey and Skeeter Davis? The gates are down. Now Kyle Petty's challenging for second. Tries to make a move for the lead, but Skeeter Davis is just too fast. Takes second place away from Gator McCluskey, but that's where Gator McCluskey wants to be. Shake and bake time, the Cajun po' boy teammates on the inside lane. The gates are down for the final lap. Skeeter Davis flies away from the rest of the field, and Gator McCluskey, a flawless bump draft past Kyle Petty and the rest of the field to put himself into the seconds race. The po' boy teammates definitely put on a show in this segment. Now let's see if the FPD Racing teammates, Thomas Elliott and Killa Kowalski, can do the same for segment number 5. And behind them, your defending Modified Series champion, Burt Buzzard. Next to him, Lucky Jackson, yet another po' boy driver. He holds the record for the most second place finishes without a win. Can he get it today? Behind them, Sonic and Morgan Shepherd, Marcus Skiddish, Trick Dickel, John Trent, and Sparky Racer. The gates are down. FPD teammates side by side heading into the turns. And it's last week's winner, Thomas Elliott, that'll lead the first lap. Side drafts his teammate in the middle of the turn. Killa Kowalski holds on to second. And look at this, Sonic moves all the way up to 4th. And now the gates are down for lap number 2. The FPD teammates just flying away from the rest of the pack by a track segment. Thomas Elliott and Killa Kowalski look unstoppable. Once again, Thomas Elliott leads the lap again, firmly in control of this segment. Still no DNFs, clean racing so far for the first 2 laps of this segment. And now the gates are down for lap number 3. Cautions out, El Reco, Trick Dickel on his roof and out of the race. Doesn't even make it out of the split track. And we've got ourselves a triple DNF. That's right, cautions out for the big one. Skiddish Marcus and Lucky Jackson on the roof. Skiddish Marcus bins it in the middle of the turn, bunches up the rest of the field. At least a triple DNF. There's Dick Trickle on his roof and Burt Buzzard on his wheels. He luckily survives flying off the track, but that leaves him in dead last with just 2 laps to go. And heading into lap 4, does anybody have anything for the FPD teammates of Thomas Elliott and Killa Kowalski? And the gates are down for lap number 4. Thomas Elliott with that extra pusher or not. Sparky Racer gets caught up on the split track. That doesn't matter. He flies away from the rest of the pack, and we've got another El Reco. This time it's Sonic on his roof and out of the race. Bins it completely without any contact in the middle of the turns. Devastating unforced error after his strong run at the road course last week. He'll make his way to the HSL junkyard, where he'll join his teammate, who's getting a new car for the next race. at Watkins Glen. And now it's time for the final lap of segment number 5. Thomas Elliott has been dominant so far. Killa Kowalski holding steady on to second place. Does he have anything for his teammate? They're side by side, far away from the rest of the field. And look at this. Killa Kowalski makes the move at just the right time, takes the win, moves himself on to the main event. Thomas Elliott to the seconds race. And let's show you this move he made on the outside again in slow motion and zoomed in. A great drive for Killa Kowalski. And look at that reverse side draft on his own teammate. Thomas Elliott, excellent car control to maintain second place, fending off a hard-charging John Trent. And that brings us to our 6th and final segment of the day. It's mostly blue and purple cars. That'll be hard to keep track of on the track. Both of the Filippiaks each have one of their cars on the front row. Deuce Andretti for FPD Racing is on the pole for this segment, and next to him is Remy 12 Gauge in the 29. Behind them, Atomic Bob and Bubba Wallace in the second row, Zard and Vinny Nightlife in the third. In-Laws Racing teammates Karate Joe and Lazy A, followed by Kid Charlemagne and Jeff Bodine. The gates are down for lap number 1. Remy 12 Gauge with the lead. And caution's out for the big one. We've got at least 3 on the roofs and out of the race. There's Kid Charlemagne, first lap DNF for him. Bubba Wallace, Jeff Bodine, and Zard all on their roofs as well. That's a quadruple DNF. That is so many DNFs. That's more DNFs than the junkyard owner has vehicles. So there's the commissioner helping out with his van. That's the sign of a good boss right there, helping out doing the dirty work. So that monster El Recco is going to cut the field down almost in half for the second lap. Remy 12 Gauge took the lead there. Deuce Andretti in second. Vinny Nightlife takes third. And the gates are down for lap number 2. Much cleaner lap this time. And once again, Remy 12 Gauge with a car length lead over Deuce Andretti. And no position changes on that second lap. The gates are down for lap number 3. Does anybody have anything for Remy 12 Gauge trying to make his way into his first career main event if he manages to hold on for the win? And one driver that's not going to make it in is Vinny Nightlife. He punches his ticket to the HSL Junkyard exclusive tour, someplace he's not a stranger to from last season. And that DNF cuts the field down to half heading into lap number 4. And that leaves Remy 12 Gauge with an extra pusher, one right at the weight limit at that. Or maybe not, he gets beached on the split track. The gates are down, Remy 12 Gauge doesn't even need it, flying away from his teammate by a car length and a half, heading into the final lap. And you can see Atomic Bob slowly making his way across the track as well. There he goes. And now it's time for the final lap of segment racing here at Bristol. Does anybody have anything for Remy 12 Gauge? One lap away from his first career main event. And the gates are down. Remy 12 Gauge flying away from the rest of the pack. Lazy A tried to make a move for second briefly, but there they go in a single file line across the finish line. It's going to be Remy 12 Gauge to the main event and Deuce Andretti to the seconds race. A great points day for the both of them, and now it's time for your 6th and 7th race. On the front row is going to be Riot Isaac and Gale Satellite teammates for Puffs and In-Laws Racing. Uncle Elvis is Sawyer and Sparky Racer for Mark Russell Racing. Harry Hoon and Twinkie Jake, the latter making his debut. And the gates are down for lap number 1 of the 6th and 7th race, led by Riot Isaac and Sawyer heading into lap 2 of this 6th race. And being a crown jewel event, the first 2 finishers get into the 5th race. The gates are down for the final lap of this 6th race, and it's going to be Sawyer taking the lead away from Riot Isaac. Harry Hoon trying to fight for second place, and he gets there. If you take a look at this replay, you can see where he makes the pass on Riot Isaac on the outside. Punches his ticket into the 5th race. On the front row is Harry Hoon's teammate Burt Buzzard alongside Atomic Bob, the Uncle Elvis teammates of Richard Petty, and Johnny What the Hell is a Kilometer Benson, followed by their teammate Elias and Kid Zach. Sawyer and Harry Hoon, who hits one of the flag posts. I'd never seen a car do that before, but there's a first time for everything. And cautions out for an El Recco. That's going to be a double DNF, Richard Petty and Johnny Benson. And look at this, we got a pair of twins here, Harry Hoon and Burt Buzzard. Atomic Bob and Sawyer, all these identical looking cars on the track. Who's going to get there? And look at this, a tightly contested second lap. It's going to be the 2 Lumina stalkers of Atomic Bob for Mark Russell Racing and Sawyer for Uncle Elvis, who joins the 4th race. And on the front row for the 4th race is Morgan Shepherd. Next to him, Karate Joe. Nomeo and Ratha in the second row. Also in the fourth race, Slick Fitty and Johnson Jr. The gates are down for the first lap, and it's a tight pack. All 6 cars tightly squeezed together, and the first car to cross the line won't count. He'll be on his roof. That's Morgan Shepherd and also Ratha DNFs. It's going to be Karate Joe leading the field down with an extra pusher. And the gates are down for lap 2 of the fourth race. The inside lane flies past Johnson Jr. It's Karate Joe, and Slick Fitty barely holds off a hard-charging Johnson Jr. to put himself into the thirds race. Great result for Slick Fitty making his big race debut. On the front row of this thirds race is RJ McCready and Crazy Ruby, followed by the teammates of Kyle Petty and Rowan. Lazy A and John Trent round out your field. The gates are down for lap number 1. Does anybody have anything for RJ McCready and Crazy Ruby? They take the first lap. Kyle Petty almost gets to second place, but Crazy Ruby is just too fast and holds him off. Here you see in the replay, tight finishes for both second and fourth place. Does anybody have anything for Crazy Ruby or RJ McCready to get themselves into the seconds race? And the gates are down. Crazy Ruby shoots out to a car length lead before they even reach the fat track. And it's going to be Crazy Ruby by 3-4 car lengths. RJ McCready takes second place and earns himself a spot in the seconds race. And the first 3 spots are held by the FPD teammates of Lucas Sattler Jr., Thomas Elliott, and Deuce Andretti, followed by Gator McCluskey, Gambino, and Baby Richie. And now the gates are down for your seconds race. It's a tight pack heading towards the fat track. Lucas Sattler Jr. with about a half a car length lead. Somebody goes flying off the edge there. That was Baby Richie. And meanwhile, we've got at least a double DNF out there. Thomas Elliott and Flip Gambino living up to his name once more. And we're going to pivot the HSL blimp now to check on Baby Richie. He is on his roof and out of the race. And here we have your final 11 cars. 4 of these cars are going to make the top 10. 2 of them the main event. Once this lap is over, the gates are down. Lucas Sattler Jr. takes a car length lead over Deuce and Gator. Meanwhile, the rest of the pack flies away from Crazy Ruby. And it's going to be Lucas Sattler Jr. that wins it. And it's going to be Deuce Andretti also moving on to the main event. Gator McCluskey in 9th and RJ McCready in 10th. Round out the top 10. Congratulations on your first top 10s this season. And you know what that means right now. Brings us to main event time. On the front row for your main event is Misty G and Skeeter Davis, followed by Bishop Petty Jr. and Gale Force. Killa Kowalski and Remy 12 Gauge make up row number 3. And finally, your seconds race winner and runner-up, Lucas Sattler Jr. and Deuce Andretti. The gates are down for the first lap of this main event, and it's Misty G and Skeeter Davis side by side. Misty G side drafts the field, throws a block across the finish line to hold on for the lead on lap 1. Look at that, Killa Kowalski moves up quite a few spots, as does Lucas Sattler Jr. And we've got our first El Reco of the segment, Deuce Andretti on his side and out of the race. That's good for 8th place. Meanwhile, Misty G sliding on her roof. Does she recover in time to cross the finish line? We got to slow this down. Here is the official replay footage. She spends most of the lap on her roof, but look at this miraculous recovery right at the line. Look at this. She recovers literally a millimeter before crossing the line. What a miraculous recovery for Misty G. Holds on to the lead. That was almost a disaster. Still a good points day, but another blown opportunity it would have been for that first career victory. And now she's got an extra pusher for lap number 3. The gates are down. She's still side by side with Skeeter Davis, one of the most tenacious competitors in the series. He is not giving up easily. Killa Kowalski moves up to second place on that lap. Just barely crosses ahead of Skeeter Davis, who's now situated right behind the leader, Misty G, heading into lap number 4. And the gates are down. Some bumping and banging and jockeying for position in the back of the pack. No extra pusher this time. And look at that. Misty G holds off the rest of the field, completely throws a block on everybody else. Does anybody have anything for her heading into the final lap? Skeeter Davis, Killa Kowalski, somebody else. It's time for the final lap of your Freebird 500 at Bristol Motor Speedway. The gates are down. The top 4 flies away from everybody else. Misty G in the corner pinches Kowalski against the wall. Everybody else files into a single file line, except for the last 2 drivers fighting for 6th place. And it looks like it's going to be Lucas Sattler Jr. by a millimeter for 6th place. As you can see in the still frame there, And congratulations to Misty G on your first career NASCAR Nitro Series victory. Puffs Racing's first win of the season, as well as your fellow podium drivers Killa Kowalski and Skeeter Davis. Back-to-back podium finishes for the both of them. Awesome run by all three of these guys, especially Misty G with that miraculous recovery on lap 2 of the main event. And that lit the fire. She was lights out for the final 3 laps. Great job, Puff. Congratulations on your first win of the season. And in addition to your podium finishers, Bishop Petty Jr. and Gale Force round out your top 5. Lucas Sattler Jr., Remy 12 Gauge, and Deuce Andretti round out your main event. Deuce Andretti an early DNF in the main event. Gator McCluskey and RJ McCready, your last 2 drivers in the top 10. And Crazy Ruby in 11th, Thomas Elliott and Flip Gambino. Baby Richie and Rowan make up your top 15. Good run for Rowan there. Kyle Petty, Trent, Slick Fitty in his debut. 18th place, not bad. Lazy A and Karate Joe round out your top 20. And they go all the way back to Nomeo in 25th. Morgan Shepherd, Burt Buzzard, Kid Zach, Harry Hoon, Elias, Johnny Benson. All the way back to Sparky Racer in 36. There were 36 finishers, 24 DNFs. Amber Beach, your highest finishing El Reco. Meanwhile, here is the rest of the field. Jeff Bodine takes last place. 1 point for him. Tails in his last race in the number 6 car. He'll be driving a number 18. 1994 Joe Gibbs Racing Pontiac Grand Prix in all the subsequent races, starting with Watkins Glen. Hopefully he'll have better results than the 59th place finish he earned today. And now let's take a look at the points. Misty G with that win shoots up to the points lead with a 133-point lead over Amber Beach, who barely holds on to second place over Lucas Sattler Jr. Skeeter Davis with his second straight podium moves up to 4th place. Bishop Petty Jr. rounds out the top 5, just 5 points ahead of Deuce Andretti, who is still looking for that first career top 5 finish with 3 top 10s in the first 4 races. Bobby Allison falls back to 7th with his DNF. Thomas Elliott, Killa Kowalski both move into the top 10, and Atomic Bob rounds out your top 10. RJ McCready, just a few points back in 11th place, gets his first career top 10. Demon Preacher's first top 10 in over a calendar year. After countless 11th place finishes, it was almost becoming a meme on the channel last year. Gale Force, Baby Richie, your defending champion Burt Buzzard, all the way back to 14th after a mediocre showing where he went off the track and never recovered. All 4 of Mark D's cars from 14, 15, 16, and 17 clustered together. That's a pretty odd bit of trivia there. That's pretty interesting. Remy 12 Gauge and Gator McCluskey also move up the point standings with their top 10 finishes. And here we have spots 26 through the 44 and 45th place. Riot Isaac through Lazy A. 19 points separate the top 44 from 45th place. J-Bo, the last driver with that all-important inside lane during qualifying. The points are still pretty tight for stretches, only less than 100 points between 7th and 20th. Only 89 points between 24th and 38th. And they are starting to separate themselves into tiers, though. The top 45, a much clearer picture. Still quite a hotly contested race for that last spot in the All-Star Open. That's still several races away after the in-season tournament. But top 50 is the cutoff. And right now, that's only 1 point difference, as well as just a 25-point difference between 47th and 58th. And here are the last few drivers in the point standings. Tristan competing for the B-Series title alongside Racer Gnome, and Lord Shank just came off of a B-Series win at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Aluka Yode Osisanya Jr. in last with 1 point. AJ Smooth second to last after his first lap DNF today. And what an exciting race that was. If you want to see your cars race on my channel, or if you're unhappy with where they're finishing, you can send your replacements to HSL Diecast, P.O. Box 7, Wing Gap, Pennsylvania, 18091. Rancid Cactus Racing sent over a replacement for Tails, who's currently 58th in the point standings, hoping to move him up with a new and improved race car. We still have 11 races to go. I'll be filming Watkins Glen tomorrow after this is uploaded. So if you send a car out today, they'll be in the final 10 races or so, which of course means plenty of screen time. And as always, hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. We'll see you out there on the track.